Dust floated through the narrow stone corridors like tiny stars in the dim light. Liam carried the water bucket carefully, trying not to spill a single drop. His bare feet made soft sounds against the cold floor as he walked deeper into the mountain sanctuary. He had made this walk 1,000 times before, bringing water to the archives, cleaning the old books, and staying quiet like all human servants were supposed to do. But today felt different. The air itself seemed heavy, like the whole mountain was holding its breath. Liam was 14 years old and had lived in the Dragon Sanctuary his whole life. His parents had died when he was small, and his older sister Nora had raised him here among the ancient books and sleeping dragons. The dragons rarely noticed humans. To them, people were just servants who brought food, cleaned rooms, and stayed out of the way. This was how things had been for thousands of years. Nobody remembered a time when it was different. The dragons ruled the planet Ashenmore and humans served them. That was the natural order, or so everyone said. There were rules, of course. Humans could not read the old texts. They could not enter certain rooms. And most importantly, they could never sing the old songs. Those were dragon songs forbidden to human voices. Anyone who tried would be punished, maybe even killed. Liam had always followed the rules. He kept his head down and did his work. But he had a secret that he told no one, not even Nora. Sometimes late at night he could hear things that others could not. Strange sounds that seemed to come from the walls themselves, from the air, from nowhere and everywhere at once. Beautiful sounds that made his chest ache with feelings he could not name. He called them the between sounds, and he had learned long ago not to mention them to anyone. As he climbed the spiral staircase toward the upper chambers, the between sounds grew louder. They were sad today, like a long goodbye being whispered over and over. Liam's hands tightened on the bucket handle. Something was very wrong. He reached the great bronze door that led to the highest chamber. Usually guards stood here, dragon warriors who watched everything with cold eyes. Today the corridor was empty. Liam hesitated, then pushed the door open just enough to slip inside. The chamber was enormous, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadow. In the center, on a bed of gold and ancient stone, lay Ember, who remembers dawn. She was the last dragon, the oldest living creature on Ashenmore. Her scales, once bright as flame, had faded to the color of ash. Her massive sides rose and fell slowly, each breath seeming to take forever. Liam had never been this close to her before. He stood frozen, the water bucket forgotten in his hands. Ember's eyes were closed, but he could see something glowing faintly in her chest. The eternal flame. The fire that burned at the heart of every dragon. He had heard the old dragon keepers talking about it in worried whispers. When Ember died, the eternal flame would die with her. And when that happened, the planet itself would begin to die. The fire was connected to Ashenmore's core somehow, keeping everything stable and alive. The between sounds were screaming now, so loud in Liam's head that he almost dropped the bucket. Without thinking, without planning, he opened his mouth and began to hum. It was not a song he had learned or been taught. It simply came out of him, a melody that matched the between sounds, that answered them somehow. The effect was immediate. Ember's eye opened, huge and golden and ancient beyond measure. Her gaze fixed on Liam, and he felt like she was seeing not just his body but his soul, his thoughts, everything he was and had ever been. He should have been terrified. Humans who disturbed dragons died, but he could not stop humming. The melody had taken control, flowing through him like water through a riverbed. Ember's mouth opened slightly. When she spoke, her voice was like distant thunder, weak but still powerful. Impossible. A human child singing the first song. After all these ages, after everything we did to bury it. Liam's humming stopped. He stared at her, unable to speak. Come closer, young one, Ember said. Let me see the face of the one who remembers what my kind tried to forget. Liam's legs moved on their own, carrying him across the vast chamber until he stood beside her massive head. Up close, he could see how ancient she truly was. Her scales were cracked, her eyes clouded with time and sorrow. Do you know what you just did? She asked. Liam shook his head, his voice finally working. I just heard something and I answered it. I am sorry. I did not mean to disturb you. Disturb me? A sound came from her throat that might have been a laugh. Child, you have done what I thought impossible. You heard the world singing and you sang back. Your kind was not always silent. Once, long ago, humans and dragons sang together. We built this world together side by side, voice joining voice. But we dragons grew proud. We grew afraid. And we took that away from you. Liam felt dizzy. None of this made sense. Humans had always been servants. That was history, that was truth. I am dying, Ember continued, the last of my kind. And when I die, the eternal flame dies with me. This world has perhaps 1 year before everything falls apart. But there might be another way. If someone could sing the complete first song, the flame could be rekindled. It could burn on its own, no longer needing a dragon to carry it. But I only hummed, Liam said. I do not know any songs. The first song is hidden in 3 pieces, Ember said. Her voice was growing weaker. Find them. Learn them. Sing them together. Save this world that my kind is too proud to save. Will you try, human child? Will you dare what is forbidden? Liam thought of Nora, of all the humans living small lives in the servant quarters. He thought of the dragons who barely saw them as alive. He thought of the planet dying because of ancient pride, and he thought of the between sounds calling to him his whole life, waiting for him to answer. Yes, he whispered, I will try. Rain hammered against the small window of the storage room where Liam had hidden himself. His hands would not stop shaking. Everything Ember had told him kept spinning in his mind like a storm. Humans and dragons working together. It seemed impossible. Yet somewhere deep inside it felt true, like remembering a dream he had forgotten upon waking. The door burst open and Nora rushed in, her dark hair soaked from the rain. She was 20 years old and worked in the engine rooms deep below the sanctuary, fixing the old machines that kept everything running. Her hands were always stained with grease and she had a permanent frown line between her eyebrows from worry. What were you thinking? She hissed, grabbing Liam by the shoulders. Old Finn told me you went into the upper chamber. Into Ember's room. You could have been killed. She talked to me, Liam said. Nora, she told me things. About humans. About who we used to be. Nora's expression shifted from anger to something sadder. She sat down heavily on a crate. Let me guess. She told you we were once equals? That dragons took something from us? Liam, those are just stories. Old Finn has been filling your head with nonsense again. It is not nonsense, Liam insisted. She said I sang part of something called the first song. She said if I can find the rest of it and sing it complete, I can save the eternal flame. Save the whole planet. And you believed her? Nora stood up, pacing in the small space. Listen to yourself. One dying dragon tells you a story and now you think you are some kind of hero. We are servants, Liam. That is our reality. When Ember dies, yes, maybe the planet dies too. But maybe that is not our problem to fix. Maybe it is time dragons face the consequences of their choices. Her words hit Liam like cold water. He had never heard his sister sound so bitter before. You want everyone to die? He asked quietly. No, Nora said, her voice breaking. I want us to be free. For once I want humans to choose their own path instead of cleaning up dragon mistakes. But you are my brother, and if you are determined to do this stupid thing, I cannot let you go alone. Before Liam could respond, there was a soft knock at the door. Old Finn entered, moving slowly with his walking stick. He was completely blind, his eyes milky white, but he knew the sanctuary better than anyone. He had been the keeper of the forbidden archives for 50 years, secretly teaching Liam to read the old texts when no one was watching. The dragon guards are searching for you, Finn said. Talon has been asking questions. He knows something happened in Ember's chamber. Talon was a young dragon warrior, barely 100 years old, which was young for his kind. He was fierce and loyal and believed completely in the old ways. If he found out what Liam had done, what he was planning, he would stop him. Violently, if necessary. Where are the 3 pieces? Liam asked Finn. Ember said the first song is hidden in 3 places. You know the old texts. You must know where. Finn sighed and sat down carefully. I had hoped she would take that knowledge to her grave. But yes, I know. The first fragment is in the crystal caves beneath the dead ocean. The second is in the Whispering Archive in the ruins of the first city. The third is in the Star Temple on the dark side of Silverthane Moon. The moon? Nora said. How is he supposed to reach the moon? We can barely leave the servant quarters without permission. There are ways, Finn said. Old ways. Ships that still work. Hidden by humans who never quite gave up hope. But Liam, you need to understand what you are asking. These places are protected, guarded. And even if you survive reaching them, learning the song pieces will not be simple. They will test you. Each fragment demands something from the singer. What do they demand? Liam asked. Truth, Finn said simply. Dragons and humans built those places together in the old days before the separation. They built them to preserve the first song in case it was ever needed again. The protections will only release the fragments to someone who understands what the song really means. Someone who can face the full truth of what happened between our kinds. There was a distant sound of heavy footsteps, dragon guards getting closer. You need to leave now, Finn said, pulling a small wrapped bundle from his coat. Take this. Inside is a map to the old passages under the sanctuary. They will lead you out to the wilderness. Also, there is food, water tablets, and a locator beacon that will help you find the first cave entrance. What about you? Liam asked. If they find out you helped me, I am an old man, Finn interrupted. I have been waiting my whole life for someone like you. Someone who could hear the between sounds. Someone who could sing. Let me do this one useful thing before I die. Ember had given Liam something too before he left her chamber. She had reached down with one massive claw and pulled a single scale from her chest, right above her heart. It was the size of Liam's palm, still warm, glowing faintly with inner fire. This will protect you 3 times, she had whispered. Use it wisely. After the 3rd time it will become just a memory. Liam pulled the scale from his pocket now. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. The footsteps were very close now. Liam heard Talon's voice echoing through the corridor, demanding that the human boy be found and brought to him immediately. Go, Nora said, pushing him toward a small door at the back of the storage room. I will buy you time. But Liam, promise me something. Promise me you will not die for them. If this gets too dangerous, you turn around and come back, promise. Liam hugged his sister quickly. I promise to come back, he said. It was not quite the promise she had asked for, but it was the best he could offer. He slipped through the small door into darkness. Behind him, he heard Nora's voice raised loud, arguing with the guards, telling them she saw someone running toward the south wing. Buying him precious minutes. The passage was narrow and smelled of earth and old stone. Liam used the small light crystal from Finn's bundle to see. The map showed a winding path down through the mountain's roots, eventually opening into a canyon system that led toward the dead ocean. As he walked, Liam began to hum softly, the same melody that had come to him in Ember's chamber. The between sounds answered, guiding him forward through the dark. For the first time in his life, he was not following orders or staying quiet. He was choosing his own path. The journey to save the world had begun. The dead ocean stretched before them like an enormous grave. Once it had been filled with water, millions of years ago, but now it was just a vast basin of cracked earth and salt formations. Massive dragon skeletons rose from the ground like terrible monuments, their bones bleached white by countless centuries of sun and wind. Some were so large that Liam could have walked through their rib cages without bending his head. He had been traveling for 3 days when Nora caught up with him. She appeared at his campsite one evening carrying a heavy pack and looking furious. I told you I could not let you go alone, she said, dropping the pack. Also, old Finn gave me supplies before the guards took him away. They arrested him? Liam felt sick. He is alive, Nora assured him. For now. Talon wanted to execute him. But the Dragon Council said they need to question him first about the old texts. We have maybe a week before things get worse. She looked at her brother seriously. So let us not waste time. Where is this crystal cave? According to Finn's map, the entrance was hidden at the deepest point of the ancient ocean floor. It took them 2 more days of walking across the harsh, dry ground to reach it. The entrance was a crack in the earth, barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through. Strange symbols were carved around it, too old and worn to read properly. This is it? Nora asked doubtfully. It looks like it might collapse if we breathe wrong. Liam felt the between sounds pulling him forward. This is it. They descended carefully using ropes and light crystals to see. The crack opened into a tunnel, which led downward at a steep angle. The walls began to change as they went deeper. Rock gave way to crystal formations that grew more elaborate with each step. Soon they were walking through a forest of crystals, all different colors, all singing softly if you listened carefully. Liam could hear them clearly. Each crystal had its own note, its own voice. Together they created a harmony that was almost overwhelming in its beauty. Can you hear that? He asked Nora. I hear wind through rocks, she said. What do you hear? Music, Liam said simply. The tunnel opened suddenly into an enormous cavern. Crystals covered every surface, floor to ceiling, creating a cathedral of light and color. In the center of the cavern stood 3 pillars made of clear crystal, each taller than a dragon. They pulsed with inner light like heartbeats. As soon as Liam stepped into the cavern, the pillars flared bright. A voice spoke, though no one was there. It came from everywhere at once, from the crystals themselves. A seeker comes. A singer arrives. Let the testing begin. The first pillar began to glow brighter. Images formed in its crystal surface, showing scenes from history. Humans kneeling before dragons. Humans working in fields while dragons flew overhead. Humans being punished for small mistakes. The images went on, showing thousands of years of servitude. Speak the truth, the voice commanded. What is humanity's greatest failing? Liam swallowed hard. This was the test Ember had warned about. The crystals would judge his honesty. We accepted it, he said quietly. We let them make us small. We forgot who we were. We stopped fighting, stopped questioning, stopped dreaming of anything better. We taught our children to bow their heads and stay quiet. That was our failing. Not that we were conquered, but that we forgot we were ever anything else. The first pillar's light softened. Truth recognized. First trial passed. The second pillar flared to life. This time the images showed different scenes. Dragons protecting human settlements from natural disasters. Dragons teaching humans how to use fire, how to build, how to heal. Dragons and humans working together to terraform the planet, to make it livable. There was beauty in these images. Real partnership and mutual respect. Speak the truth, the voice said. What did dragons give humanity? This was harder. After everything the dragons had taken, after all the centuries of oppression, Liam had to acknowledge the good. He could feel Nora's eyes on him, could sense her anger. They gave us survival, Liam said slowly. When humans first came to this world, we were dying. The dragons helped us adapt. They shared their knowledge, their magic, their protection. They gave us a home. And before the separation, they gave us partnership. They treated us as equals. They were not always our masters. Once they were our friends. The second pillar's light dimmed to a gentle glow. Truth recognized. Second trial passed. The third pillar blazed so bright Liam had to shield his eyes. This time the images showed the future. Two possible futures. In one, the planet died, lifeless and cold, dragons and humans both extinct. In the other, the world thrived. But it showed dragons and humans working together again. Building new cities, creating new wonders. Either kind ruling over the other. Speak the truth, the voice demanded. Why does the world need both kinds? This was the heart of everything. This was what the first song was really about. Liam closed his eyes and thought about Ember, dying alone in her mountain. He thought about old Finn, arrested for teaching him to read. He thought about Nora beside him, angry but loyal. He thought about Talon, fierce and proud and wrong. Because being alone makes you weak, Liam said finally. Dragons became cruel because they had no one to challenge them, no one to remind them of other perspectives. Humans became small because they had no one to inspire them, no one to show them what they could be. We need each other to stay balanced, to stay good, to stay human and dragon in the best ways, not the worst. Together we built a world. Apart we are destroying it. That is the truth. The third pillar's light exploded outward, filling the entire cavern with brilliance. When it faded, something new stood on a platform in front of the pillar, a crystal sphere, small enough to hold in two hands, filled with swirling light. Truth recognized, the voice said. All trials passed. The first fragment is yours, young singer. But know this, what you hold is memory made solid. When you touch it, you will see what was, the pain and the beauty both. Many cannot bear it. Liam reached out and picked up the sphere. The moment his fingers touched it, the world disappeared. He was standing in the first city, but it was alive, thriving. Dragons and humans worked side by side in the streets, building, laughing, living. He saw a dragon teaching a human child to read. He saw a human woman healing a dragon's injured wing. He saw them singing together, their voices blending into something more beautiful than either could create alone. Then the vision shifted. A plague spreading through human children, dragons quarantining the humans to protect them, to stop the disease, the quarantine lasting months, then years, fear growing on both sides, dragons deciding the separation should be permanent, that humans were too fragile, too dangerous to themselves, humans too weak and grief-stricken to fight back, the friendship crumbling into resentment, then hierarchy, then forgetting. Liam gasped and fell to his knees, the sphere clutched to his chest. Tears streamed down his face. He had felt everything, all the love and all the loss. Nora pulled him close. What did you see? Everything, he whispered. How it all went wrong, and how good it was before. A roar echoed through the cavern. Talon had found them. The young dragon warrior burst into the crystal chamber, his scales gleaming red with rage. "Stop!" Talon commanded. "That fragment belongs to the dragons, not to human thieves." Ember's scale in Liam's pocket flared hot. A shield of fire sprang up between them and Talon, protecting them. The first of 3 protections now used. "Run!" Nora shouted, grabbing Liam's arm. They fled deeper into the caves, Talon's furious roars following them, the crystal sphere safe in Liam's hands. 1 fragment found, 2 more to go, and now they had a dragon hunting them. Smoke still rose from the ruins of the first city, even though the fires that destroyed it had burned out 1,000 years ago. At least that was how it looked to Liam. The smoke was not real smoke, but rather ghost images, memories trapped in stone and air, playing over and over for anyone who could see them. The whole city was haunted by its own past. They had escaped Talon in the crystal caves by finding a hidden exit that led through underground rivers. Nora had been injured when a crystal formation collapsed during their escape. A deep gash ran along her left arm and she was running a fever. They had wrapped it as best they could, but it needed proper medicine. "We should turn back," Nora said weakly as they approached the city ruins. "I am slowing you down." "Absolutely not," Liam said firmly. He had never used that tone with his sister before. "We rest, we find medicine, and we continue together." The first city was enormous. Buildings made of white stone and dragon-forged metal stood crumbling but still proud. Gardens had gone wild, with strange plants growing through cracks in the boulevards, and everywhere the ghost images played. Liam could see them clearly. A dragon and a human shaking hands, children of both species playing in a fountain. A terrible fire screaming, the plague that started everything. "Do you see them?" he asked Nora. "The memories?" She shook her head, leaning heavily on him. "I just see old buildings." "Your gift is getting stronger, Liam." They found shelter in what had once been a library. The roof was partially collapsed, but 3 walls still stood firm. Inside, stone shelves still held thousands of books, though many had rotted away to nothing. Liam made Nora comfortable on a pile of old tapestries that were surprisingly intact, then went searching for anything useful. He found dried fruit that had somehow been preserved in sealed containers, and a medical kit in what looked like it had once been a clinic. The medicines inside were ancient but still worked according to the symbols on them. He cleaned Nora's wound properly and gave her tablets for the fever. "Thank you," she whispered, already falling asleep. Liam sat beside her, holding the crystal sphere from the caves. It hummed softly in his hands, resonating with the between sounds that filled this dead city. According to Finn's map, the Whispering Archive was at the city's center, in the great tower that had once been the seat of the Joint Council, where dragons and humans governed together. He could see the tower from the library's broken window. It was tall and spiraling, made of some material that shifted colors in the fading light. Even from this distance, he could hear it whispering. Not words exactly, but feelings, impressions, memories calling out to be heard. A sound made him spin around. But it was not Talon. An old woman stood in the doorway, impossibly old, her skin like ancient paper, her eyes cloudy but somehow still bright. She wore robes that looked like they had once been beautiful but were now tattered and faded. "You can see the echoes," the old woman said. It was not a question. "Who are you?" Liam asked, positioning himself between her and Nora. "I am Prose," she said, moving slowly into the library. "I am the guardian of the Whispering Archive. I have been waiting a very long time for someone like you, a singer who can hear." "How are you still alive?" Liam asked. "This city died 1,000 years ago. The dragons gave me a gift before the separation," Prose said, sitting down carefully on a stone bench. "Or perhaps a curse. They made me immortal so I could guard the archive, preserve the knowledge, wait for the day when someone would come seeking the truth. I have been alone here for 10 centuries. Do you know what that does to a person?" Her voice was sad but not bitter. Liam slowly relaxed his defensive stance. "I am looking for the second fragment of the first song," he said. "I know," Prose replied. "I have been watching you since you entered the city. You passed through the eastern gate where the memorial to the plague children stands. Did you stop there?" Liam nodded. He had seen the memorial, a beautiful statue of a human child and a dragon hatchling holding hands. Names covered the base, thousands of names, all the children who had died in the plague. "Good," Prose said. "Many seekers come looking for the fragments over the centuries. Most want power. They see the song as a tool, a weapon. They rush past the memorials. They do not stop to grieve. Those ones never pass the trials. What is the trial here? Liam asked. You must listen, Prose said simply. Come, if your sister is comfortable, we should go now. The archive only opens to seekers at night when the ghost memories are strongest. Liam looked at Nora. She was sleeping peacefully, her breathing steady. He left her the medical supplies and his remaining food, then followed Prose out into the darkening city. As they walked, the ghost images grew more intense. Liam saw the city in its glory days, saw the moment the plague arrived, saw the quarantine beginning, saw the fear and anger growing. He saw dragons and humans arguing, saw friendship crumbling, saw violence breaking out, saw the final days when the dragons sealed the city and forbade humans from ever entering it again, declaring it a monument to the mistakes of the past. It hurts to watch, does it not? Prose said. To see how easily good things can fall apart. How fear can poison everything. They reached the tower. Up close, Liam could see it was covered in writing, layer upon layer of script in dozens of languages, both dragon and human. Every wall was a story, a history, a memory preserved in stone. Prose placed her hand on the door. It opened silently. Inside, the tower was hollow, rising up impossibly high. Spiraling stairs clung to the walls, leading upward and upward. But what filled the space took Liam's breath away. Thousands of crystal formations hung suspended in the air, each one glowing softly, each one containing a memory. This was the Whispering Archive, a library of lived experiences, of truth preserved perfectly. Your trial is simple, Prose said. You must listen to the complete history. Everything, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the terrible. Most people cannot bear it. They break down, they run away, they close their hearts because the pain is too much, or they close their minds because the truth is too complicated. Can you do it? Can you witness everything without turning away? Liam thought of Ember dying alone. He thought of old Finn in prison. He thought of every human who had lived and died in servitude, never knowing they had once been equals. He thought of the dragons who had let fear turn them into tyrants. I can try, he said. Prose touched the first crystal, and it blazed to life. What followed was the longest night of Liam's life. Memory after memory poured into him. He saw the first humans arriving on Ashenmoor, desperate and dying. He saw dragons debating whether to help them. He saw the decision to offer partnership. He saw centuries of cooperation, of friendship, of genuine love between the species. He saw the wonders they built together. Then he saw it all fall apart. The plague was not anyone's fault, just terrible luck. But he saw how dragons grew afraid of human fragility. He saw how humans resented dragon invulnerability. He saw small resentments growing into large divides. He saw dragons deciding they knew better, that humans needed to be protected from themselves. He saw humans too broken by grief to fight back. He saw both sides betraying each other in small ways that added up to catastrophe. But he also saw something else. He saw individual dragons and humans who tried to maintain the friendship. He saw secret meetings, hidden kindnesses, desperate attempts to bridge the gap. He saw them fail one by one, ground down by the weight of history and fear. Liam watched it all. He did not look away. Tears streamed down his face, but he witnessed everything. When the last crystal dimmed, he collapsed to his knees, exhausted. Prose knelt beside him. You did it, you saw. Now tell me, young singer, what have you learned? That nobody was completely right, Liam said hoarsely. That the tragedy was not one single evil act, but 1,000 small failures of courage and faith. That both dragons and humans are capable of great love and great cruelty. That the separation was not about who was worse, but about fear winning over hope. A crystal sphere materialized in front of him, identical to the first fragment but pulsing with a different light. The second fragment is yours, Prose said. This one holds the melody of loss and understanding. Combined with the first, you now have 2/3 of the song. But the final fragment will be the hardest to obtain. What makes it hardest? Liam asked. It cannot be taken, Prose said. It cannot be found. It can only be given freely by one who has lost everything and still chooses love over vengeance. That is all I can tell you. A roar split the night. Talon had found them again. The old shuttle was hidden in a cave system 3 days' journey from the first city. Old Finn had given Nora the coordinates before his arrest along with the access codes. It had been built by humans during the early days before the separation, when both species still shared technology freely. Now it sat forgotten, covered in dust but still functional. Nora's fever had broken the morning after the archive. She was weak but determined, her arm healing slowly. They had escaped Talon by using Ember's scale a second time. The dragon warrior had cornered them at the archive entrance. But the scale had created a massive burst of light that blinded him long enough for them to run. 2 protections used. Only one remained. I cannot believe we are actually going to the moon, Nora said, running her hands over the shuttle controls. Despite her doubts about the mission, she was still an engineer at heart, and the old technology fascinated her. Liam held both crystal spheres carefully. They hummed in harmony now, their lights pulsing together. He could feel the incomplete song inside them, waiting for the final piece. The launch was rougher than expected. The shuttle shook violently as it broke through the atmosphere, and several warning lights flashed on the console. But Nora's skill kept them steady, and soon they were floating in the quiet darkness of space. Silverthane Moon hung before them, half lit by the distant sun, half shrouded in shadow. The star temple was on the dark side, in a crater so deep it never saw daylight. According to the old maps, it had been built as a place of meditation and study, where dragons and humans could contemplate the stars together and remember that they were all small creatures in a vast universe. Landing on the moon was easier than launching. The shuttle settled into the crater with barely a bump. When they stepped out wearing the old environment suits they had found in the shuttle's storage, the silence was overwhelming. No wind, no sound, just emptiness and starlight. The star temple rose from the crater floor like a frozen dream. It was made of a material that seemed to be part crystal, part metal, part something else entirely. It glowed faintly with its own light, creating shadows that moved like living things. As they approached, Liam heard something that should have been impossible in the airless environment. Singing. Faint and distant, but definitely singing. Do you hear that? He asked Nora through the suit radio. I do not hear anything, she replied, but that does not surprise me anymore. They found the entrance easily. It opened at their approach as if it had been waiting. Inside, the temple was warm and breathable. The environment suits were no longer necessary. They removed them carefully, staring around in wonder. The interior was a single vast chamber that seemed to stretch upward forever. The walls were covered in star maps, both from ancient times and from futures that had never come to pass. Alternative histories played out in the crystalline ceiling, showing worlds where the separation never happened, where dragons and humans still worked together. In the center of the chamber was a raised platform, but unlike the other trials, there was nothing on it. No crystal, no guardian, no obvious test. This is where the third fragment should be, Liam said, consulting Finn's map. A sound made them both turn. Talon was there, having followed them somehow. But something was wrong. The dragon warrior was bleeding from a wound in his side, limping badly. His scales were dull, his breathing labored. You, Talon said, his voice weak. You just will not stop, will you, human? Even knowing this is forbidden, even knowing I could kill you, you keep going. The wound, Nora said, her engineer's eye spotting the problem immediately. That is poison damage. From the crystal collapse in the caves. You have been dying this whole time. Talon laughed bitterly. Yes, my own foolish pursuit has killed me. I have perhaps hours left, but I will stop you before I die. I will not let humans steal what belongs to dragons. The first song does not belong to dragons, Liam said quietly. It belongs to everyone. That is the whole point. Talon, why are you doing this? When you die, I die, Nora dies, Ember dies, everyone dies. The planet dies. Why choose extinction over cooperation? Because cooperation is a lie. Talon roared, though it turned into a cough. My elders teach that humans cannot be trusted. That you are weak, greedy, destructive. That we dragons saved you and you repaid us with betrayal. That the separation was necessary because humans are inferior. I believe this. I must believe this. Even if it kills you? Nora asked. Talon slumped against the wall. Better to die with honor than live with shame. That is what I have always been taught. Liam approached him slowly, holding out the medical supplies he still carried. Let me help you. Why? Talon asked suspiciously. I have hunted you, tried to kill you. Why would you help me? Because you are dying and I can help, Liam said simply. I do not need a better reason than that. He cleaned Talon's wound despite the dragon's protests. The poison was deep, but Liam had anti-venom from the medical kit they found in the first city. It might not cure him completely, but it would buy him time. As Liam worked, he talked. He told Talon about the crystal caves, about the truth the first fragment had shown him. He told him about the Whispering Archive, about all the memories of cooperation and friendship that had been hidden away. He told him about dragons and humans who had loved each other, who had tried to preserve the partnership even as fear tore them apart. "Your elders lied to you," Liam said gently, not out of evil but out of fear and shame. They could not face what they had done, so they rewrote history, made themselves heroes and us villains. But the truth is messier than that. We all failed each other. Talon was silent for a long time. The medicine was working, easing his pain, clearing his mind. "If you are right," he finally said, "then I have wasted my life serving a lie." "No," Liam said. "You served what you believed was right. That is not wasted. But now you have a choice. Keep serving the lie, or help create a new truth." A voice echoed through the chamber, coming from everywhere and nowhere. "The third fragment cannot be taken. It must be given freely by one who has lost everything and still chooses love." All three of them looked at the empty platform. Understanding dawned slowly. "There is no third fragment," Nora whispered. "Not a physical one. The first song requires 3 voices," the voice continued. "Dragon, human, and the voice of willing sacrifice. Someone must give up their future so the song can be completed." Talon stood shakily. "I am dying anyway. Let me be worth something. Let my death mean something more than pride and fear." "No," Liam said firmly. "That is the old way. One side sacrificing for the other. The song says together. We have to do this together." He pulled out Ember's scale. It pulsed warmly. The last protection still held within it. "I understand now," Liam said. "The sacrifice has to be shared. Talon, you give what remains of your life. I give my voice, forever. I will never sing again after this. But together we create the third fragment. Together we make something new." "Brother, no," Nora said, tears streaming down her face. "I have to," Liam said. "This is what I was meant to do. Why I could hear the between sounds all along. Why I was the one who found Ember dying. This is my song to sing, and my silence to bear afterward." Talon looked at the boy who had every reason to hate dragons, who was willing to give up his greatest gift to save them anyway. Something broke inside him, something hard and bitter. And for the first time, he saw humans not as servants or inferiors, but as people. "Together then," Talon said. Liam held the 2 fragments and began to sing. His voice rose clear and pure, carrying the melody of partnership and understanding. Talon joined him, his dragon voice deep and resonant, harmonizing perfectly. As they sang, Talon's life force began to flow into the song, giving it power. And Liam felt his voice beginning to burn away, becoming part of the music itself. Nora watched in horror and wonder as her brother and the dragon who had hunted them sang the impossible song together. The Star Temple blazed with light. The platform in the center began to glow, and there, forming from their combined sacrifice, was the third fragment. But it was not a crystal sphere like the others. It was something living, something made of choice and courage and forgiveness. Ember's scale used its final protection differently than expected. It did not save Liam from the sacrifice. Instead, it preserved his last song inside itself, capturing the moment forever. When his voice finally failed and silence took him, the scale held the echo of what he had given. Talon collapsed, his life spent, but he was smiling. "Tell the council," he whispered to Nora. "Tell them a human taught a dragon what honor really means." Then he was gone. Racing back to Ashenmoor felt like flying through a nightmare. Nora pushed the old shuttle to its limits, burning through fuel reserves they probably needed. In the back, Liam sat silent, holding all 3 fragments. He could no longer speak. Every time he tried, nothing came out. His voice was gone, given to the song. His eyes were sad but peaceful. He had made his choice and did not regret it. Talon's body lay wrapped in fabric from the Star Temple. Nora had insisted on bringing him back. He deserved better than to be left alone on the moon after what he had done. They reached the sanctuary just as the sun was rising, painting the mountain peaks gold and red. But something was wrong. Dragon warriors circled the mountain, dozens of them, more than Nora had ever seen gathered in one place. The Dragon Council had mobilized. The shuttle landed roughly in the courtyard. Immediately they were surrounded by guards. A massive blue dragon, the council leader whose name was Granite Who Endures, stepped forward. "The human boy and his sister return," Granite said, his voice like grinding stones. bringing theft and treason with them. Surrender the fragments immediately. Nora stepped in front of her brother. She was terrified but refused to show it. The fragments were not stolen. They were earned. And you need to hear what happened. We need to hear nothing from humans, Granite said. Guards, seize them. Before anyone could move, a weak voice called out from the sanctuary entrance. Old Finn stood there, battered and bruised but alive. Beside him was Prose, the guardian from the Whispering Archive. Behind them came dozens of other humans, all the servants from the sanctuary. They had been hiding, listening, waiting for the right moment. You will listen, Prose said, her ancient voice carrying surprising power. I am Prose, guardian of the archive, appointed by your own ancestors 10 centuries ago. I invoke the old right to speak before the council. Granite hesitated. The old right was ancient law, predating even the separation. He could not refuse without breaking sacred tradition. Speak then. But be brief. Prose stepped forward and told them everything. She told them about Liam's journey, about the trials he passed, about the truths he witnessed. She told them about Talon, about how he had hunted them and how he had in the end given his life to help complete the song. Your warrior died not as a hunter but as a hero, Prose said. He died teaching you all a lesson. That courage sometimes means admitting you were wrong. Granite looked at Talon's body and something shifted in his ancient eyes. If what you say is true, why has the boy not spoken for himself? Nora's voice broke. Because the third fragment demanded sacrifice. My brother gave his voice, forever. He can never sing or speak again, and he did it to save all of you. To save everyone. Murmurs ran through the assembled dragons, some angry, some uncertain, some thoughtful. It changes nothing, Granite said, but his voice was less certain. The eternal flame is dying. One human boy playing with stolen fragments cannot change that. From inside the sanctuary, a deep groan echoed. The mountain itself seemed to tremble. Ember was dying. They could all feel it. The eternal flame was going out. Liam stood and walked toward the sanctuary entrance. The guards moved to stop him, but Granite held up a claw. Let him try. If he fails, we lose nothing we have not already lost. They climbed to Ember's chamber, all of them. The council, the guards, the human servants, Nora holding her brother's hand. Prose walking beside them. They crowded into the vast chamber where the last dragon lay dying. Ember's eyes were closed. Her breathing was so faint it could barely be seen. The glow in her chest, the eternal flame, was just a flicker now, like a candle in a storm. Liam approached her with the 3 fragments. He placed them together on the stone floor beside her. Then he knelt and placed Ember's scale on top of them. The scale that held his final song, his preserved voice, his sacrifice. The fragments began to merge. The 3 separate spheres flowed together like liquid light, becoming one. And from that merged fragment, music began to play. Not just any music. The first song. Complete for the first time in 1,000 years. It started soft, then grew. Liam's voice, preserved in the scale, sang the melody. But it was not alone. Talon's voice joined from the song itself. The sacrifice he made living on in the music. And beneath both, supporting them, was something older and deeper. The voice of the world itself, of Ashenmore, singing its own song of creation and partnership. The first song filled the chamber. It was not in any language, not really. It was feeling-made sound, memory-given voice. It sang of the first meeting between dragon and human. It sang of cooperation and friendship. It sang of the plague and the fear. It sang of separation and sorrow. It sang of pride and regret. It sang of a boy who dared to remember, and a dragon who dared to change. And most importantly, it sang of hope. The eternal flame in Ember's chest responded. It flared bright, brighter than it had been in centuries. But something different was happening. The flame was spreading, flowing out of Ember's body like water, like light, like music made visible. Ember's eyes opened one last time. She looked at Liam, and somehow, even without words, he understood what she was saying. Thank you. Forgive us. Begin again. Then her body began to change. The flesh and scale became light, became fire, became part of the flame itself. Ember was not dying. She was transforming, becoming one with the eternal fire, her consciousness merging with something larger than any individual being. The flame rose like a pillar of light, shooting upward through the mountain, through the sky, spreading across the world. Everywhere it touched, change came. Deep in hidden nests, dragon eggs that had been dormant for centuries began to crack open. But the hatchlings that emerged were different. smaller, gentler, their eyes bright with curiosity rather than pride. They chirped and sang, responding to the first song that still echoed in the air. Humans across the planet stopped what they were doing as they felt barriers in their minds dissolve. Suddenly they could hear the between sounds like Liam always had. They could feel the world singing around them. Memories that had been suppressed for generations came flooding back. They remembered that they had once been partners, not servants. In Ember's chamber, the merged fragment rose into the air and positioned itself above where the dragon had lain. It would burn there forever now, a new eternal flame. But this one did not belong to dragons alone. It was fed by the memory of cooperation, by the sacrifice of both human and dragon, by the choice to forgive and begin again. The chamber fell silent except for the soft crackling of the flame. Everyone stood in awe, processing what they had witnessed. Granite finally spoke, his voice subdued. "We were wrong. For 1,000 years we were wrong." "Yes," Prose said simply, "and now you have a chance to be right. The question is, will you take it?" The days that followed were chaotic. The Dragon Council dissolved itself, admitting that the old ways were dead and something new needed to be built. Young dragons and humans came together to form a new council, one where both species had equal voice. Nora became one of the human representatives. She spoke with quiet authority about engineering and practical matters, but also about her brother and what he had given. Liam could not speak, but he found other ways to communicate. He learned sign language from Prose. He wrote in journals, and he discovered something unexpected. While he could no longer sing with his voice, he could still hear the between sounds. In fact, he heard them clearer than ever. He became the keeper of the first song, the one who tended the eternal flame and helped others learn to hear its music. Young humans and dragons came to study with him. He taught them not with words, but with gestures, with written notes, with patient demonstration. He taught them to listen, truly listen to each other and to the world. He taught them that the first song was not about perfection, but about choosing partnership every single day, even when it was hard. Old Finn was released and given honor as a teacher. He and Prose worked together to recover the lost histories, to create new texts that told the complete truth. No more hiding, no more lies. The Star Temple became a pilgrimage site where dragons and humans went together to contemplate sacrifice and courage. Talon's name was carved there in letters 10 feet high. The dragon who learned too late but still learned, who gave everything to help fix what his kind had broken. Years passed. The planet healed. Cities were rebuilt with both dragon and human hands. New songs were written, new stories told. The children of both species played together, learned together, grew up never knowing the time when their kinds were separate. Liam grew old. His hair turned gray, then white. His hands became gnarled with age, but still moved gracefully as he conducted students in their lessons. He never regretted the sacrifice. How could he? Every day he saw the world his silence had helped create. One evening, when Liam was very old, he sat in the archive teaching a young dragon and a young human girl to sing harmony. The dragon's voice was high and crystalline. The girl's voice was pure and sweet. Together they sang the first song, stumbling sometimes, laughing at their mistakes, trying again. Nora, now an old woman herself, came to sit beside her brother. They watched the students together in comfortable silence. "Was it worth it?" she finally asked, signing so he could understand. "Your voice for their future?" Liam smiled. He picked up his writing tablet and wrote, "I still sing, just with different hands now. And look at what song we are making together." In the chamber where the new eternal flame burned, something stirred. The consciousness that had been Ember and Talon and 1,000 other voices blended together, looked out through the fire at the world they had helped save. They saw dragons and humans working side by side. They saw children who knew no hatred. They saw a future being built on forgiveness and hope. The flame burned bright, fed not by dragon magic or human sacrifice alone, but by the choice to remember and to try again, to be better together than either could be apart. And in the hearts of all who could hear, the first song played on, endless and eternal, a melody of partnership, a harmony of hope, a chorus that needed all voices to be complete. The world was singing, and this time everyone could hear it.